Hey guys, so Alyssa here for Books and Cats, and today I shall be doing my April wrap-up. First part of this video is actually not my wrap-up, it's actually a mini haul, but I only have 3 books and I don't really have any thoughts on them. I just didn't want to not haul them, so I'm just gonna throw these few books in at the beginning and then we'll get into the wrap-up part. The first 2 books that I have are the 3rd and 4th Nancy Drew books. It's The Bungalow Mystery and The Mystery at Lilac Inn. Found these at a semi-local used bookstore and I ended up bringing books there and I got credit, and I think I got these for a total of like $2. So I'm trying to get into these. I'm not going to buy any more for a while because I now have the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th one to read, and if I continue liking them, then I'll continue buying them. And the next one is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I have been wanting to read this book since the beginning of last year. I actually started it, I got 100 pages in, and then it had to go back to the library. I think I found it at a thrift store, and it was like $2, so I had to get it. I found out that this is also becoming an HBO show, which is cool. Not that I even have HBO. I'm gonna have to reread the first 100 pages or so that I read because I don't remember a lot. April was a pretty great reading month. I've been having a great reading year so far. It's just been super good. I'm gonna go into more like statistics of like what I read, how many pages, all that stuff. Finished a total of 6 books this month. 4 of them were from my owned TBR shelf, which is fantastic. I did also DNF 2 books that I have some thoughts on, so I'll go over them. That's another new thing that I'm gonna try doing, is if I have any thoughts on books that I've DNF'd, to kind of talk about them, go in depth if I had any issues with them. I never used to before, but Sylvia over at Wish Fulfillment, I'll link her down below, she always, like, I don't know about always, but she goes into books that she DNFs a lot, and I just love it, and she's kind of inspired me to do it as well, so that's what I'm gonna start doing. We'll see how it goes. And I read a total of 1,721 pages. I read 1 3.5-star book, 2 4-star books, and 3 5-star books. So it was a pretty great reading month. First book that I shall be talking about, and the most recent book that I actually finished, was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I finally got to it. I was waiting to finish the Grisha trilogy before I got to this. I only had Rune and Rising to read, so obviously, spoiler alert, I also read Rune and Rising this month. But I finally got to this. It was really good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously, I can understand why a lot of people don't give it a 5, because it's definitely a slow burn book. It takes a lot of build up, it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of character development, which is I think what really drove this book home to me, is the character development was just so good. Honestly, I was not expecting to like every single character as much as I did. I was like, maybe people are exaggerating quite how much they love every character in this book, but I loved every single person in this book. The plot I thought throughout wouldn't end up being that interesting, but in the end it shocked me, and I am beyond excited to get to Crooked Kingdom. I did not know this had a cliffhanger. I thought for some reason it took place like after the first one, so yeah, I have to get that from the library and read that in the month of May because I need to know what happens to my children. I do recommend reading this after the Grisha trilogy if you're planning on reading the Grisha trilogy. I just think it helps with the world setup and understanding when things happen. I don't think I would have enjoyed this as much if I hadn't read the entire Grisha trilogy. The next book that I shall be talking about is Rune and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I finally got to it, guys. Finally, after like what, 3 years of owning this book, I finally got to it. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. It was phenomenal. I loved how this one started off. It started off so strong. I wasn't a huge fan of Siege and Storm. It was still good. I still enjoyed it, but it was definitely slow. This one was not slow to me. It took me several times to read it because I just didn't want it to end. It wasn't because of the lack of interest. It was because I just didn't want it to end. Just really loved the ending. I loved the ending. I feel like honestly it was the ending that she deserved. I was going into it thinking I would be very mixed about it, but it was handled, I think, so well, and it was, I think, the ending that everybody deserved in a way. And it was really good. It's like emotional because it's like ending, it's over, like I finished it. That's why I didn't want to finish it, because I was just like so connected to the story and these characters. I just feel like it was the best ending for her and for these characters, and I honestly couldn't imagine it ending any other way, which I didn't expect to say. 5 out of 5 stars. I can definitely say that I really love this trilogy. The next book that I shall be talking about is a book I got from NetGalley, and that is I Hope My Voice Doesn't Skip by Alicia Cook. I obviously gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. This was one of my highly anticipated books of this year. I read Stuff I've Been Feeling Lately last year by her, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. It was great. Only really critique I would say I have about it was she has this element where some of the poems are actually like songs. So they're actually artists that recorded songs that you can kind of listen along with as you read. Was cool, but I feel like it would have been better if it had been one artist. It was like a bunch of different ones, and I just feel like it would have felt more cohesive. It would have been easier to connect with the artist and like the style and all that stuff. It was so many different styles that it was almost like jarring, but it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just that's how I feel. It would have been like slightly better. Other than that, I loved it. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Hopefully going to a signing for her hopefully next month, so that is also exciting. The next book that I shall be talking about is The Carnivorous Carnival by Lemony Snicket. This is the 9th book in the series of Unfortunate Events series. I'm making my way through it, hoping to read like 1 or 2 of these a month. So far, I'm managing. This was a good continuation. I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Having fun reading this series, so don't have many thoughts, just liking it. I'm trying to finish this and then watch the show, but we'll see how that goes. The second to last book that I finished was Falling Up by Shel Silverstein. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This was very good. I hadn't read this like in its entirety before. I've never read any of his things in its entirety. I've just read poems here and there. I haven't really read anything from this one, but it was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's just his writing style is so unique and one of a kind. I enjoyed this and I'm glad I picked it up. It was a nice switch up and it was light, sometimes light reading. And the last book that I actually finished was Adulthood is a Myth by Sarah Anderson. This is the first book in her Sarah Scribbles series, collection, whatever you want to call it. I've read the second and third one, like her second and third books, but I've never read the first one. And I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I just thought it was really solid. I think I enjoyed the other ones a little bit more. It's just super relatable comics, basically. So don't really have many thoughts, but if you're looking for a good, relatable, comedic, I guess it would be called a graphic novel, then I suggest it. On to the 2 books that I DNF'd. First one is Mind Platter. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot the author's name. Anyway, the book cover will be here. I'm sorry, I completely forgot. I only wrote down the title, so I completely forgot the author's name. I DNF'd this at 37 pages. It just was not my thing. I don't know what it was. Usually it takes a lot for me to DNF poetry, and I just couldn't finish this one. I just couldn't connect with any of the poems. It didn't resonate with me. I just was not my thing. I'm not saying that it's bad. I just did not resonate with me, which I think is a huge part of poetry. Like, you have to like connect with something, and I just didn't connect with any parts of it. The last book that I shall be talking about today is Unwind by Neil Shusterman. I DNF'd this at 64 pages. I didn't like this. First, it was pretty solid. You know, people have been like, oh yeah, this is a great series. I bought it like almost 2 years ago. I picked it up and I just did not care for where I got to. I just didn't like how 2 characters in the book were treated. They were they were fat characters, but like they weren't described well. I didn't like it. I'm just kind of tired of fat characters being described as gross, ugly, mean. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. The only thing that was being described about them was like how they're fat and they're mean and they're gross, and they didn't get anything else. Just were those factors. And I'm not saying that there are not mean fat people. That's not what I'm saying. But that being the only characteristic is frustrating. That's why I DNF'd it. That's all I got. That was my April wrap up. I'm just reading so many things that I own, and I finished a series this month, and I'm continuing in 2 series, and I'm just like a reading fool over here. I'm just super happy. If you enjoyed any of these books, have any thoughts on them, please let me know down below. I would like to know. While you're down there, you can go ahead and subscribe. My Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram. I'm not active on Instagram. You can still follow me. It's all down there. So that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.